Luxury bags carefully handcrafted in China. The viral TikToks from Chinese factory workers, the internet is now in a frenzy over claims that some of the most iconic designer bags are actually born in the...
Some of Hermès products are made in China. Towels are from Fuyue in Shandong. They also make products for Chanel and IKEA. Beddings are from Yue in Shandong. Men's shoes are from Shachi in Shandong. Tableware are from Gaochun in Jiangsu.
What if the bag you spent 5 figures on was stitched together in a dimly lit warehouse, halfway across the world, with no artisan, just a conveyor belt and a barcode? That's the question luxury buyers were forced to confront when TikTok videos exploded across the internet, showing what looked like nearly finished Hermès bags being assembled in Chinese factories. Overnight, the illusion of handcrafted exclusivity began to crumble, and the internet lost its mind. What followed was lawsuits, leaked documents, market chaos, and a luxury empire in freefall, because behind the glossy marketing and sky-high price tags, something darker was hiding in plain sight. It started with a single TikTok video, barely 30 seconds long, showing what looked like a high-end leather workshop deep in China. But something was off. There, on the cluttered workbench, were unmistakable Birkin silhouettes. Within hours, the clip spread like wildfire. Fashion fans, collectors, and casual viewers couldn't believe their eyes. Was Hermès really outsourcing their legendary handbags to factories in Guangdong? The video sparked an outrage. More posts followed, clips of workers assembling straps, stitching handles, boxing hardware, all without the coveted logo. But the craftsmanship was nearly identical. The allegation was that 80% of luxury handbags, including those worth tens of thousands, were being mass-produced in China only to be shipped to France for logo stamping and final touches.
Almost finished bags from China factories, back to their own factories, and just do the repackaging and logo installing.
And for Hermès, built on exclusivity and artisanal legend, such revelations were devastating to a brand. Supporters across the world were shocked. One buyer posted a tearful video boxing up her entire Hermès collection. Another said, "I didn't spend $25,000 for a bag stitched in the same place as my phone case." The luxury illusion was cracking, and Hermès wouldn't be able to stop it. Hermès, in an attempt for retaliation, launched a full-scale legal issue. No PR statement, just a pile of lawsuits. Within 24 hours, a Paris-based law firm representing the brand filed formal complaints against 3 Chinese manufacturing firms and TikTok itself. The charges were stacked of defamation, trademark dilution, misappropriation of trade secrets, and digital trespass. This was a corporate carpet bomb. TikTok immediately buckled, videos vanished, hashtags like Birkin Factory, and Hermès scam went dark overnight. Influencer accounts that had reposted or commented on the leaks suddenly were shadow banned. It was clear that Hermès had one goal: scrub the internet clean before the narrative spiraled further, but it was already too late. By trying to silence the whistleblowers, the brand triggered what they feared most. People now wanted the videos even more. Leaked screenshots of the lawsuit began circulating on social media. Former factory workers started speaking up under aliases. And digital sleuths began asking the obvious. If Hermès wasn't hiding something, why weaponize their legal team so fast and so hard? The internet didn't see power, they saw panic. And that panic only fueled more curiosity. Just days after Hermès unleashed its lawsuit, the internet fired back with receipts. Entire PDFs, shipping documents, and purchase orders began flooding pages. The first receipt exposed was a 2023 purchase order labeled H51X, matching Hermès' internal coding for bag components. Attached were material specs for Clement leather, the same kind used in signature Birkins. The routing went straight from a Shenzhen port to a Paris facility under Hermès control. That was just the beginning. Crisp HD photos showed hardware bins, labeled HMS buckle. Internal factory logs listed Hermès part numbers. Freight movers revealed pallets of leather hides moving monthly through Chinese ports, all marked for luxury export. The timestamps, serial numbers, and logistics matched what collectors had seen on their own bags for years. And suddenly, everything clicked. The claim was clear. Hermès wasn't just sourcing raw materials from China, they were contracting actual production there. Handles, buckles, pre-cut panels were all assembled overseas, then shipped to France for the final polish and that coveted Made in France tag.
Put the finishing touches on a Kelly, the most difficult bag to build. It starts with 30 distinct cuts of leather and can take 20 hours to complete, 4 hours for just the handle. There are no manuals or cheat sheets. Artisans rely on their training, and muscle memory to make every bag.
Hermès had built an empire on the myth of local craftsmanship, but in reality, it looked eerily like a global assembly line behind the scenes. Luxury fans who once bragged about the artistry of each bag now had questions. Who really stitched it? Where was it truly made? And if Hermès was hiding this, what else were they covering up? Within days, the Hermès scandal was no longer confined to small TikTok corners. It had become front-page drama. Reality TV mogul Bethany Frankel was the first to go full investigator. She posted an Instagram story claiming she'd spent over $100,000 dissecting luxury handbags, cutting them open, layer by layer, to understand the truth behind the craftsmanship. Her verdict called it corporate greed at its finest. The Birkins she'd trusted were stitched thousands of miles from Paris, where they claimed to be from. Cardi B added her own flair. On X, she joked that if the bags were half finished in Guangdong, she might as well buy the real fakes at his wholesale. Kylie Jenner dropped a cryptic post showing a side-by-side photo of a leaked factory Birkin next to one from her personal collection. Dark luxury scam began trending, gaining over 200 million views. The scandal hit meme pages, sneaker channels, and late-night comedy monologues. YouTubers even started dunking on the Birkin myth.
It was my first time shopping at Hermès, and let me tell you how it went.
We got a lot of requests, do Hermès next, and that's why we're here in the Highland Park.
Overnight, Hermès went from untouchable icon to luxury punchline. The once revered orange box was now a symbol of deception. It wasn't just the price tag that stung, it was the lie. And in an age where transparency is currency, Hermès was declining fast. While memes and TikToks mocked the scandal, trading floors weren't laughing. Within 2 days, Hermès International stock dropped nearly 7%, wiping billions from its market cap. For a brand considered bulletproof in the luxury sector, the fallout was catastrophic. Investors who once praised its ironclad exclusivity were now questioning everything. The panic spread fast. Auction houses postponed high-profile Birkin sales amid fears of plummeting interest. Resale platforms like the Real and Vestiaire Collective reported a spike in sellers trying to offload their collections fast. Inventory flooded the market. Prices on once unshakable models, like the Kelly and the Himalaya Birkin, began to dip for the first time in brand history. Consignment stores saw customers demand authenticity reports not just on craftsmanship, but on manufacturing origin. Made in France was no longer enough. Buyers wanted full supply chain receipts. And for Hermès, that kind of transparency had never been part of the business model. Rival luxury houses took note. Chanel and Dior ordered internal audits. LVMH quietly pulled back marketing for select leather lines. It wasn't just Hermès at risk. This scandal could trigger a domino effect across the entire industry. And inside Hermès' Paris headquarters, the tension reached a boiling point. The mood had shifted from damage control to full-blown crisis. Senior executives were needed early. Assistants were handed NDAs. Insiders described it as less a meeting and more a corporate execution. Marketing heads pointed fingers at product development, and product development blamed supply chain leadership. But the bombshell came when one furious director dropped a thick collection of internal memos, Slack screenshots, and vendor contracts onto the table. These weren't small-time sourcing arrangements. They were long-term strategic partnerships with Chinese manufacturers dating back years. The documents showed full component assembly deals signed off by high-ranking procurement officers. The worst part was that even if one contract proved Hermès knowingly misled consumers about origin labeling, the company could face EU trade investigations, lawsuits, and regulatory fines. Even the leaked factory footage could be used against their brand. Within 72 hours, 2 vital senior executives voluntarily retired. Internally, everyone knew they were forced out. One had managed Hermès Asia sourcing for over a decade. Their swift exit only fueled speculation that top leaders knew more than they admitted. But the scandal wasn't just about leather and logos anymore. Environmental watchdogs had started asking questions, and what they were finding was even uglier. As the corporate walls shook, environmental and labor watchdogs began digging. Reports surfaced linking Hermès leather suppliers to toxic waste violations in China's Pearl River Delta. Water samples taken near Dongguan Tanneries, the company, who allegedly produces hides for Hermès, contained chromium levels 6 times over the legal limit. These same tanneries proudly displayed framed purchase orders with the initials HMS stamped in bold. The labor conditions were no better. Anonymous posts on Weibo from former factory workers described 14-hour days stitching Birkin handles, often earning less than the price of a bag's tassel. One whistleblower claimed bags that failed quality checks weren't discarded. They were recoded internally, sent to France for finishing, and sold at full price. this. That post disappeared within hours, but screenshots had already spread, like wildfire. The luxury myth of artisans handcrafting bags in soft Parisian studios was collapsing. The reality was industrial floors, teenage labor, toxic chemicals, and a conveyor belt of deception. Hermès' eco-pledges, once used to justify its soaring prices, now read like cruel irony. Environmental activists joined the outrage, demanding EU intervention and trade transparency. As social pressure mounted, Hermès couldn't rely on silence anymore, but instead of coming clean, they doubled down, and that only led to more secrets surfacing. Investigators soon uncovered a web of shell companies designed to obscure the brand's offshore dealings. One entity, Dragon Lux Sourcing Ltd, listed its headquarters at a locked mailbox above a Hong Kong dumpling shop, but registrar records showed something more disturbing. It was majority owned by a Luxembourg holding firm chaired by a recently retired Hermès executive. Customs records revealed shipments labeled as furniture leather, routed through Vietnamese brokers before landing in French warehouses as heritage material. Satellite imagery confirmed regular truckloads leaving Shenzhen tooling shops that reported zero domestic sales on paper. And then came the visuals, a heat map showing leather tonnage spikes from Guangdong every quarter, always just before. Hermès announced limited edition colorways. The correlation was brutal. This wasn't a coincidence. Luxury buyers once believed they were investing in tradition, in a lineage of craftsmanship that stretched back generations. But what they got was a carefully choreographed illusion designed to move mass-produced goods through a luxury pipeline without ever revealing the scandalous truths. The deeper the internet dug, the more Hermès and all its secrets began to tremble. And now, with the scandal too big to bury, all eyes turned to what the brand would do next. With the scandal at full boil, Hermès had a choice to make: adapt to a new era of radical transparency or cling to secrecy and risk losing it all. For decades, the brand sold more than just handbags. It sold a lifestyle of luxury, the story of heritage, of exclusivity, of artisans bending over workbenches in quiet Parisian workshops. But now that story was collapsing by the minute, and the next chapter would decide Hermès' fate forever. Younger consumers, especially Gen Z, aren't buying illusions. They want receipts, not reputation. They're digital natives who research before they spend, who demand ethical production, clean supply chains, and honest marketing. They aren't afraid to call out billion-dollar brands. And now, they're watching Hermès with everything they have. Sustainability funds are already warning they'll separate if toxic waste reports and labor abuse claims aren't addressed. Shareholders demand refund. Rivals like Gucci, Chanel, and Dior have launched emergency controls, terrified they'll be the next to fall. The entire luxury sector, long excluded from accountability, suddenly looks fragile. Internally, Hermès executives are torn. Some push for public disclosure and third-party audits. Others want to double down, lawyer up, and wait for the storm to pass. But the truth is, the days of blind trust in a logo are long over. What comes next could either be the beginning of a new kind of luxury or the collapse of a legacy brand that refused to evolve. Luxury always sold two things: craftsmanship and a story. But when the truth comes to surface, what's left? Hermès built a dynasty on exclusivity, on limited stocks, and orange boxes passed like treasure. But now, with the viral videos, the leaked documents, and the shell companies, the entire brand is collapsing. They exposed an entire system designed to look perfect while hiding the truth. So the next time you see a Birkin in a boutique window, you won't just ask, "Can I afford it?" You'll ask, "Who really made it? And at what cost?" Because in a world driven by transparency, trust is the new luxury. The receipts are out, the lawsuit is live, and the people won't be forgetting anytime soon. Whether Hermès opens the factory doors or keeps hiding behind the logo, one thing's for sure: the age of untouchable luxury might be over for good.